Okay.
All right. So good evening. Hello, this is Nikki in Japan. I'm now here with my second victim with my COVID-19 chronicles. All right. So can you give me a short introduction about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Nikki. Manas here, and thank you for having me.
Mhm.
I'm a PhD student at the Mobile Computing Laboratory in Osaka
Wow.
University. And yeah, I'm a second year PhD student, so I have one more year to
Wow.
go,
Yeah.
and then I
Wow. Good
graduate.
luck. Good luck. I'm excited for you to
Thank you.
finish.
Uh,
It must be like
Me too.
a long way to go, though. It must be tough.
Yeah, I mean, PhD in Japan's shorter than other countries, so
Oh, really?
that way it's better, easier. But
Ah,
yeah.
that's something new to me. I didn't know that it's different from other countries because I've also had masters in my home country,
Mhm.
and I thought like doing the thesis actually not only in masters but like I think in any kind of study if you do your thesis
Mhm.
it's hard and challenging. So kudos to you. All
Thank you so much. It's
right.
Yeah, it's. I think it's not just me. I have a good team and I have a great professor. So it's not
It's a
as difficult
teamwork.
as it seems. Yeah, so it's
Nice.
more of a
I'm glad
teamwork.
to
Yeah,
hear positive feedback about PhDs. I mean, I know PhD programs anywhere is challenging. All
yeah.
right. So,
So
let me get to my questions.
mhm,
So I'm doing this project because I wanted to know how people managed COVID. I've been hearing a lot of different perspective from different people. Mostly, they're like they miss their life due to the restrictions made by the COVID pandemic. So can you tell me what were you doing before the pandemic broke loose?
okay. So pandemic. I came here in October of 2019, and that was 2 months before the first case was reported in Osaka. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I entered my PhD with the first emergency going into effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I was when I came here, I was supposed to do something different than what
Mm-hmm.
my research eventually became. So it kind of changed the whole I would say the direction of my
Right.
research and probably my career for the
Oh,
next 2 years. So yeah, I think the first emergency came into effect in the March of
uh-huh.
2020. Yeah, and
Yes.
that's when I entered my PhD. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
So
so
you really traveled to Japan to take your PhD.
yeah,
Okay, but
so
because of the pandemic, some things have
yeah.
to change.
Yeah, my research problem changed. I was supposed to work on augmented reality kind of stuff,
Wow.
and but because everything changed and we were not sure how long it would be and whether I would have access to the laboratory and the equipment and stuff. So my sensei and I we decided that it's better to do what I was doing earlier than to
Uh-huh.
do something new because if I get stuck, then uh, like nothing was clear at the moment about whether how long the emergency would last, how long the
Uh-huh.
pandemic would last. So yeah, so I just continued doing what I was doing, something new, of course. But then
Ah.
yeah, so it kind of I came here to do something new, and thanks to like my PhD research was something very different, was supposed to be something very different from what I had done in the past.
Hmm.
But because of the pandemic, it just became an extension of what I was
An
doing.
extension.
So
Well, at least it's
yeah,
something that you know what to do already. Because if it's an
yeah,
extension of a previous study, then you're a subject matter
yeah.
expert then.
Yeah, but it's also like I came here and my professor also gave me a shot at doing something new. But I'm doing it now. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm starting November 30th. I'm doing it. So yeah,
Ah, so you're working on your new research.
new
Oh, good
research. Yeah, yeah.
job. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah,
Wow.
it's
The reason I think taking further studies is difficult is because you have to be creative, right? When you do the
yeah.
study, when you think of a research problem, you have to be creative, how you would attack it, how would you do your methodology? Because
Mhm.
I'm I actually finished physics and then I took masters in engineering, and honestly doing thesis and research is challenging for me because I'm not creative enough.
No, you're doing this podcast, and I've seen your shots, and so I don't think creativity is an issue. So I think you should take up doctoral research. You'd fit right in.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a good encouragement. I will. I'm actually
you
working
should.
on some applications now. I might ask you after this. I might ask you about university stuff in
Yeah,
Japan.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
So, anyways, back to my COVID-19 questions. So basically, like, how was it during the pandemic? Like, was it a problem to you, or were you thriving during this
Um,
whole time?
uh, well, at the onset, I would say I was like a bit worried about my career
Mm-hmm.
because like suddenly what I was supposed to do, I was not doing it, and I
Yeah.
was not going to be able to do it for the foreseeable future
Uh-huh.
because research or PhD is like a big ship in the
It
Suez
is.
Canal or something. You cannot just
Yeah,
turn it around.
that's true.
So there was that, but then I mean, if like I say, if you get lemons, get some tequila and do some shots. So I just I I just went ahead with that, and yeah. So I just tried to do something new with what I was already doing, and so initially it was, I would not say scary, but yeah, a little bit disappointing. But then
Because you wanted to pursue a new study, a new research question, right?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was disappointing, but and I had support my professor, my lab, and I worked with researchers from 2 or 3 other universities. So I think it was the same for everyone. Everyone was locked in their homes.
Mm.
So yeah, I think we collaborated a lot and we worked
Mm-hmm.
together. So it was in different time zones. So
Yeah.
and it was work from home, so different time zones also worked. So it was not entirely bad. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
how
So
did you feel about you having to work from home most of the time?
yeah, that I think that's the most difficult thing to do because when you can go to the lab, you have a sort of a structure.
That's true.
So yeah, so there's although in my lab there was never, even in the pre-pandemic time, there was never any like you have to come in at a certain time or leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's your own free will, but uh, because my lab is actually very cool. So I would share some photos later if you want to see it. It's a very cool space to work. So. Uh, it was good to go there, but in pandemic, I just could not go there. So at
Ah.
least in the emergency.
Yeah.
So the
So
first,
did the university restrict students from coming in the school?
yeah, there were different levels of
Oh,
emergency restrictions. So
right.
at different times they were affect. Uh, my lab was closed maybe twice for some durations.
Oh,
But after that we could go, but it was encouraged like
yeah, it was
if you can
highly
work remotely.
discouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
especially if you work, like if you study in a lab setting, it's kind of challenging. I remember when I was doing my studies as well, when I was in undergrad, I was doing some research on solar cells. I had to go
mhm,
to the lab. I had to like do a lot of testing and sampling for my
mhm.
for my study. And sometimes, when you're so hooked up into your study, you forget time. It's basically right. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
yeah, sometimes we even stay overnight at the lab because we wanted to finish everything
yeah, yeah.
before dismantling my setting. So I can
Yeah,
imagine your
that's true.
frustration, especially if you work in a lab setting. But
Yeah.
moving forward, like in the future, what do you think is gonna happen to your career, to your life, with like if eventually, like if eventually, not eventually, not yet. So if this pandemic goes on for the next, I don't know, 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. So I would just add to my earlier answer because this the two are linked. So one thing that pandemic initially it was challenging is because one thing is that you do not have space to work, and the
Mm,
second thing there is no structure, whether it's the structure of space or whether there
mm-hmm.
is the structure of time. So what happens is as you you're locked into this small space of your apartment, and you don't have a sense of time.
Yeah,
So
you
you
lose
lose
track.
track of both, and then it's very corrosive in a way. So what I try to do in this is that I set some own personal goals, and I was not alone. My girlfriend's here, so we kind of set up some goals like, okay, we're going to do something new, or we're going to learn something new.
That's
So,
nice.
or yeah, so for example, I learned a new programming language. I learned a new
Wow.
framework. Yeah, I got involved in business competitions, and
Wow.
yeah, so things that I wanted to do, and suddenly there was time. So uh, it could either have been something that's very like something that kills your motivation to do more,
Yeah.
or if you look at from another perspective, and I'm saying it at from the point of view of someone who is 30 plus, and uh, when you reach that threshold, you suddenly realize that there are things you wanted to do but you couldn't do, and now you suddenly don't have the time.
Yeah.
So I just
But now is the time.
yeah. So now the pandemic just kind of gave me the time to do these things.
Wow. That's
So yeah, I just
amazing. I
feel
mean,
that yeah.
I think this is like one of the very isolated interviews. I mean, not only interviews, but like very isolated conversations I had with people about the pandemic. This is very positive in a sense because you were able to make the most out of the time during this
Yeah,
pandemic.
it was like you feel the same thing, the monotony, the boredom, I mean, I would say sometimes you're even low, your energy levels are sometimes low. But then what happens is that if you do these other things, so say I participated in Ericsson Innovation Awards, and Osaka University reached till I led the team, and we reached till semifinals. In Hull Prize, we reached the Peru regional finals Impact Summit.
Wow.
Yeah, so even though we were locked in our homes, we
Yeah.
could interact. So every day I was interacting with 4 or 5 people on something, whether it was a business project, whether it was a research project. So there was no, I mean, there was spatial isolation, but there was no social isolation for me. I was talking to everyone.
Yeah, that's
So
nice. That's nice that you didn't feel isolation, unlike
yeah, so
most of like, most of
yeah,
popular opinions. That's really
yeah.
good. So like in the future, after this pandemic is hopefully over soonest, what are your plans? Like short-term plans after the pandemic?
Yeah, I think now that everyone's been vaccinated, and unless, and God forbid, another
Yeah,
new
wave comes out.
strain
Yeah.
comes like attacks us, I think
Yeah.
things are pretty much stable now, and it's only going to improve. So yeah, I think now two things have happened. One, it's like staying at home is no longer boring, and then I think for most people it's no longer a necessity. Their organizations, their, I think, bosses and supervisors, and no one expects, they think that a hybrid model of working from home and
Yeah.
working from the office is good. So I
Yes.
think given that in mind, actually what I've been doing in the past 6 or 8 months has kind of led me to a place where I'm more inclined towards entrepreneurship. So yeah, so I think
Oh.
I'm just going to go ahead with that, and probably work, if I have to, after I graduate, take up a remote position of some kind, and just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, try to
That's
build some
good.
tech
I
business.
think
Yeah.
this interview is very inspiring for everyone because most people are complaining about how much how much of their lives were stuck because of the pandemic. But hearing this, I think this is an inspiration for everyone that you can make the most out of this time. And then you can pursue your passion, you can pursue new things for you to learn. And yeah, you're a testimony to
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. And I would also say that one thing that helps, especially in this time, is to, for example, like I connected with you over Facebook for a specific problem, and I may have asked other people also, and not everyone helps. So thank you for that, and you were very kind to help, and like very forthcoming to a stranger that you don't know. It was
Oh, no
very nice of
worries.
you.
I mean, we
So
are. I think that if a foreigner reaches out to me on Facebook, I mean, I would feel the same. Like when I'm lost, especially here in Japan, I would not hesitate to ask for help from anyone, and I'd gladly lend a hand if I can. So I'm
Yeah, so
happy
I
to
mean
be of
that's
help.
yeah, but it's also not the norm. It
Ah,
doesn't
yeah.
like yeah. So thank you for that. So I think one way is to find people who do the things that you want to do, or who so community is one thing
Mm-hmm.
that can help. And sometimes it's difficult to find people like that. So what
Yeah.
happens is you can maybe do courses of some kind, like boot camps, and like participate in these kind of competitions where people get together. So
Mm-hmm.
what really, and see, for me it was easier because I was part of a larger university ecosystem. So I can understand for foreigners who are working here, and because work is a very different environment than
Environment,
a
yeah.
university. Yeah,
That
so
is true.
maybe some clubs could help, or like the group we have Osaka residents in Japan or
Mm-hmm.
something. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, in that group people often post, and I think that, I mean, you have to reach out, because
Yeah,
and you
that's the
have to
only
keep reaching
way.
out to many people,
Yeah,
and then maybe yeah.
that's the case though. But yeah, again, thank you for sharing this with me, and that I will be sharing with my viewers. Very few
No,
viewers on YouTube,
thank you
but
for having me,
yeah,
Nikki.
this
I
is
was
very
happy to share my
insightful.
experience.
Yeah, this is very insightful for me as well, like especially for me, because I'm also doing similarly, I'm doing similar things to you, and I think that this encourages me to pursue my passion too. All right.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad it does, and
yeah.
I think we should, because I think you're already doing pretty good. So
Ah,
I wish you all the
not
success.
really.
Yeah,
All right. So that's all for
yeah,
today, Manas. Thank you so much
yeah.
for your time.
Thank you for
I
having me,
really
Nikki.
appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.